Welcome, everybody, to another installment here on The Special Educator. I'm your host, Tom Hankins. Today, I want to welcome you to One God, Many Paths, exploring monotheism. Today, we're diving into the big question, what does it mean to believe in just one God? It's a concept that shaped billions of lives, sparked wars, inspired art, and built civilizations. We're talking about monotheism, the belief in a single, all-powerful deity, and in this episode, we're zooming in on the big three: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or just curious, stick around, because this will be for you. So, Wednesday was Ash Wednesday for those of us that are Christians. I'm Catholic. I went through this. I posted an episode yesterday. So another thing I've decided to give up for the Lenten season. I said that I was going to watch my language. I said I was going to eat a lot healthier. And by the imposition of my spouse, have decided that I'm going to lose the hat. So for the entire season of Lent, no more hat. Ready? There it is. Not much hair left. Got a little bit of shine showing off from the lights. You know what? Deal with it. So, before we get going, please, I'm going to ask you to smash that like button, hit the comments, share, subscribe, leave comments, follow, whatever you can do. Let's get through the business end of things. Our website is tsegrp.org. Our email directly to myself or anybody else that is working with me, host@tsegrp.org. Facebook, X, Rumble, and now medium.com at tsegrp, YouTube at tsedgrp, Instagram and LinkedIn are The Special Educator. So let's get started. Let me get over here to the main screen. I'll quickly review. I've grown up in a Christian environment, mostly parochial. I started out as Episcopalian, then I went to a Lutheran grade school and a Catholic high school / prep school. One of the questions that comes up frequently is, what is the foundation of our religion? And whether you're Jewish, Christian, or a Muslim, we all have the same origin, the same seed, if you will. So let's get to this. I prepared a PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully this will make things somewhat simple to understand. I'm not going to do a deep dive into this because, believe me, each of these religions I could do a total deep dive into. This is just going to be a gloss over so you get a better understanding. So now that we're here, this is a global issue. These three religions are practiced around the globe, and they have been doing so for thousands of years now, hundreds of years, certainly in our American way of viewing things. Our country was founded on what we call a Judeo-Christian ethos, if you will. And I'm not going to get into the whole 10 Commandments and everything else. That's for another time. I just want to go through a general overview of what things are. So here are some of the topics we're going to discuss. We're going to do a brief introduction. We're going to discuss the roots of monotheism, the core beliefs and differences, some cultural and historical impact, and I'm going to give you some closing thoughts. So, for the introduction, let's first of all take a look at monotheism. What does it mean to believe in one God? Things evolved from a polytheistic, meaning many gods, into monotheism. And when it comes down to this, we want you to personally reflect on your individual beliefs and experiences regarding faith in just one God. We're going to discuss how different cultures understand and interpret the belief in one God, and then we'll move on from there. So let's start with the definition. Monotheism is the belief in a single all-powerful deity and a contrast with polytheism, which involves multiple gods. Pretty easy to understand. The historical significance of this is it influenced civilizations, shaped laws, cultures, and social structures over many centuries. Moralistically speaking, monotheism had provided guidelines that shaped ethical standards and even, in many cases, legal standards in societies around the world. So we're going to focus on the big three: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam as primary examples. These three are the primary religions, monotheistic religions, that currently are practiced around the globe. They have widespread influence in your cultures, societies, and histories, and they have impacted billions of lives. The common core of these is, again, just one God and the ethical teachings surrounding it. So we're going to get into the roots here. And what we're talking about right now is Abraham. He is the father of all three of these religions. We're talking Old Testament stuff. In fact, the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, if you're Jewish, it doesn't matter, are shared by all three religions. Those books, if you're interested, are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. For those of you that aren't religious, don't worry about it. They're just the first 5 books of the Old Testament as you're looking at it. So he, being the patriarch, is basically setting up a model of faith for us all. There was a covenant between Abraham and God. It's basically the foundational, symbolic, and it represents a special relationship and promises made to the Jewish people initially. Abraham's covenant marked the beginning of monotheism, and from there, everything followed. So, the basic difference to understand here, the belief in the one God is the defining feature of these three, and the paths are totally separate from polytheistic traditions. The belief in a singular divine entity shapes all the narratives around these faiths, and it influences all the scriptures and teachings. There are distinct religious practices and rituals that differ from polytheistic religions as well. The key shift here was a cultural, psychological, and religious side of things. Transition from a polytheistic to a monotheistic was very profound. In fact, it was not well received by the polytheistic religions, and from there, a lot of our modern society values and belief systems are based on the monotheistic traditions. The individual and collective psychology about it fostered a sense of unity and purpose within societies. It was actually a fairly unifying force. And again, I'm trying not to get deeply religious here, but the religious implications leads to all new religious frameworks, interpretations, and it altered the spiritual landscape. We're talking quite some time ago now. Let's start talking about some of the core beliefs and differences. And again, this is going to be a gloss over. I'm not going to get too far into it, and I'm not looking to create any situation where people are going to argue about this. The significance of the Torah, which I'd mentioned before, is the foundational text for Judaism, and it combined the teachings and the laws of Jewish life and practice. The concept of the law, or the halakha, governs daily life, ethics, and religious practices, embodying the covenant that God had made with the Jewish people. Now, there was within the teachings this promise of a Messiah. So in Judaism, the Messiah is the anticipated coming of a future leader who will bring peace, restore Israel, and usher in a new era of divine justice. That in and of itself is something that translates into the New Testament for Christians but we're not going to get too far into that at this particular point in time. When you get into Christianity, Jesus is the central figure in Christian beliefs. He's identified as the Son of God and the Savior of humanity through his teachings and ultimately his resurrection. With the Lenten season here, we culminate the Lenten season with Easter. Easter celebrates the resurrection of Jesus. The theological debates also come down to the Trinity. Nature of God as three persons. I hate to use that term, persons in one essence, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. I look at them as three entities or three factions or sections of one God. Now, in Islam, which came after the other two, so they're in chronological order. You have Judaism, Christianity, and then you have Islam. Now, Muhammad was regarded as the final prophet, and the Quran's teaching is supposed to be regarded as the teachings that are foundational to the faith, and they were revelations received by Muhammad, guiding the followers of their faith and in their practices. So, what are some of the things that are common, and then what divides them? All three religions share the fundamental belief in the single God, and it promotes unity amongst the followers. Despite the shared beliefs, the three religions do have significant differences in rituals and practices. The interpretations of God's teaching vary among the three religions, and they also lead to diverse theological views. When it comes down to our cultural and historical impacts, these shaped a lot of things. They've influenced legal frameworks, including the incorporation of the Ten Commandments into various legal systems. I had mentioned before, here in the United States, the Judeo-Christian values based in the Ten Commandments substantially impact our legal system. Sharia law in Islam was derived from the teachings and governs various aspects of life and highlights the intersection, if you will, the joining of religion and legal systems and practices. Christian ethics were shaped around moral and ethical standards in society, and those are meant to influence personal behavior and community values. So, modern relevance on moral values in contemporary society, all these influencing principles of right and wrong spread across all cultures. Ethics are the frameworks derived from monotheistic beliefs, and they continue to guide society's norms and laws today as well. As far as the monotheistic faiths, they do influence society. They affect how people and communities interact and how they uphold shared values. I want to get into some closing thoughts here because I don't want to make this a very long thing. These religions continue to shape personal belief systems and the values in today's world. We, as monotheistic religions, all three of them, believing in the one God, certainly have a unifying nature. My proposition on this, quite frankly, is that the three monotheistic religions share more in common than they do have differences, and frankly, I think they should get together and be harmonious with each other. The teachings significantly impact the culture, art, community practices across all societies. Unity in diversity. Although monotheism does promote unity among diverse groups, they foster understanding and cooperation in a multicultural world. I'm going to get back here for my own personal thoughts on it. Now, I've studied all the religions, all of these certainly, and many of the polytheistic religions throughout my years I can't get away from it. Religion is a foundational pillar of my education and my upbringing. Having a common foundation between these three big religions is something that I want to encourage those of you that are Christians during the Lenten season to understand and maybe do a little bit of homework and research on your own. Whether you're Jewish or Muslim, I would ask that you look at the other two religions, Christianity being the one I'm focused on, and start to learn a little bit about those. I do know a number of people that are from one religion and have gained an understanding of the other religions as well. And through that understanding becomes a tolerance and an acceptance. Personally, I have not met too many people that are either Jewish or Muslim that I found to be entirely opposed to my Christian faith. There's a lot that is shared. And with that common understanding, we can have open and honest conversations and, quite frankly, get along very well with each other. There's no need for all the division. Just going to say that, again, that's my opinion. Some of the upcoming episodes that I want to talk about, I will talk briefly about the 10 Commandments. I will also talk about how Jesus, as a rabbi, a teacher, like myself, if you will, not that I'm anything like Jesus, please, I'm far from perfect, but he broke it down to just 2 commandments, if you will. Islam took things, further than that, saying, I shouldn't really get into that. I'm not an expert on Islam, although I have studied it. I'm not going to get into it there. But the Quran is a very long and involved set of texts that extends beyond what is in the New Testament. So here's the way I look at it. Judaism abides pretty much by and follows what we'll call in the Bible the Old Testament. Christianity added the New Testament, which was Jesus's teachings to his disciples and his followers, and even in public service. Islam went even further than that, beyond the New Testament, and started doing further interpretations and what we'll call, it goes into laws as well. All I want and all my hope is here for the Lenten season is for all of us that are into these monotheistic religions, and even those of you who are more secular or don't practice it, or even if you practice something like, humanism and things like that, understand these 3 religions, at least the core values that are shared amongst them, because from there branches out all the other social, sometimes political, artistic, and cultural norms that we've experienced throughout the history of the world. Anyway, I'm Tom Hankins, instructor, tutor, consultant, and musician. You can find my postings on a variety of outlets: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, and Rumble. Our contact information is down here, on this side, down here. And once again, I'm going to ask you to like, follow, subscribe, share, get notified, anything you can do to help us out. My next episode is probably going to be on the concept of the 10 Commandments and the basic principles of those. And then I'll follow up with another episode on Jesus as a teacher and some of his roles in teaching. I'm also going to look at morality involved in that as well. So, for those of you that are Christians and Catholics like myself, I wish you a great Lenten season as we look forward to Easter. Take care. Peace, love, and happiness, everybody. Enjoy. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.